Hi, ladies. Third time lucky. How's everyone doing? Well, go on.
I'm really good. It's
Good.
pretzeling day at the chiropractor this morning, so I'm a bit out of it and a little bit happy clappy. Couple of launches tomorrow, busy week. So yeah, no, good. Glad it's Friday.
What did the chiropractor do?
Have you not been to a chiropractor? They sort of fold you up and then clamp down on you and your spine goes or yeah, so he only had to do that twice today to get 2 different points done.
Is your spine meant to do that, or is
when you're not doing what you're meant to do with your body, probably.
Right, okay.
I'm still banned from running at the moment.
Okay. How many weeks left have you got of that?
I think he said probably 6 weeks in total, and today was my second week, so yeah.
It's not too bad then.
No.
So you're planning your running.
Yeah, well, I've got a 5k on the 4th of July, so I
need. It doesn't give you a lot of time to practice.
No, it doesn't.
Can you get Can you get a scooter and just scoot along or something?
No.
Instead? Oh.
No.
Just checking. Robin, how are you? Lady of leisure, holidaying it up this week?
I am good. I am orange. Very orange.
You are quite orange.
Yeah, it's a good look though. I always like it when you've got orange hair.
Yeah, I wasn't orange last week for the last video, so I thought I'd mention it. That maybe quite a stark difference.
Is it going to be different every week, or is it just going to be a once in a blue moon thing?
Do you know what? Maybe I'll keep the orange as a base and then highlight the bottoms. So next week I'll go hot pink, shall I?
Yeah. That would be cute actually. Although I'm not sure how your hair would deal with having another batch of stuff put on top of it.
Dye.
Yeah. No, definitely not
too much every week.
Just a little bit,
for sure. Well, this week we are here to talk about something very exciting that I'm so excited about. It is Thursday when this video comes out, which means Saturday coming up is Eurovision, which rounds of applause for Eurovision, because we didn't get one last year because of the pandemic. But this year it's going to be in Rotterdam again, which is so exciting. We were planning to go originally after 2019 and the win
we
there.
need to explain why we were going to go, because your husband went to university in Rotterdam, didn't he? And he's from Holland.
Yes, but also because
not Holland, sorry, all of those Dutch people out there, he's from the Netherlands.
but also just because it's Eurovision, so there's plenty enough reason there. Who cares about him? So yeah, today we're doing a little bit of an interesting I guess chat session, because Eurovision's coming up and it's one of those things that tries so hard to not be controversial, because they want to be seen as non-political in almost every single way, at least the broadcasting, the European, what are they called, the European broadcast area, they do. And it never happens, does it? It's just the common theme.
From a starting perspective,
yeah,
I don't think you've got any hope of that with music. Music is meant to be political. It's meant to be a narrative of society. It's meant to be storytelling. It's meant to engage young people, old people, and everyone with the stories of the day and with the everything that's going on. So I think they've made it really hard for themselves, because when I was younger, back in the day, obviously I didn't watch the Eurovision in the 50s or the 60s, but certainly in the 70s, there were always political songs, always, because you had the Cold War, you had all sorts going on. It was still post World War II, and I know there was a lot of political songs in the 50s and 60s as well. It was well known for it.
Yeah.
So I think bless their cotton socks, they are trying to achieve something that isn't achievable.
Yeah, and it's trying to achieve it across such a broad space as well. It's not just trying to achieve it in one country, it's trying to achieve it in, I'm not sure, like 40, I mean there's like 41 countries total in Eurovision, I think, this year. I want to say 41, but however many countries in Europe across that broadcast area, that's a huge variety of people with different thoughts, feelings, beliefs. Absolutely. Political views.
And something that's political in in Eastern Europe
Yeah.
or Australia may not be political somewhere else, and vice versa. So
Mhm.
I think it's really hard to judge what is political and what isn't political.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's a difficult job for them, because it's all well and good having that thought and wanting it to be, you know, a non-political place, but it always comes out as political. And I guess in a way it's sort of a safe way to do it, a safe-ish way to do it.
It is. I think they're playing it safe, but I also wonder from a marketing perspective,
Mhm.
Something happens.
Yeah,
Every year, some political statement is made by one of the entrants, something
yeah,
kicks off in the news.
yeah,
And because they say that they're non-biased, non-political, I think that makes the newspapers and the broadcast media even more. And of course,
mhm,
no news is bad news. So the fact that they're hitting the headlines actually
yeah,
keeps Eurovision top of mind, where maybe it might have slid a bit before. So from a marketing perspective, that can be quite clever. I'm not sure that they're doing it on purpose, but you know, it's quite a clever way to position yourselves, and lots of organizations actually do that. I'm pretty sure
yeah,
that Eurovision aren't, because you know they're the Swiss of the music scene. They like to
yeah.
keep totally neutral, but it can be a good marketing tactic, but it
So it's
can
like a marketing tactic. Go on. It's like a marketing tactic they've accidentally landed into,
yeah,
rather than being an on purpose.
yeah, I
It's
think so,
organic for
because
them.
there's certainly no way that some of the stuff that's been staged and things that have happened, there's no
No.
way that they would have wanted those to take place.
No, definitely not. It's interesting, all of the bits that surround it every single year as well. Like, there's often the whole LGBTQTA situation with countries that are it's not so popular in, and countries where it's just celebrated, and Eurovision is considered quite a campy thing. So for those countries to be like entered into it and have that reaction sort of blow up, and it's always interesting to see how people are voting based on what the content of the song is, rather than, you know, how good the song is or how catchy it is. And yeah,
but I think that's great. I think that's great exposure for the LGBTQA community, because I think the more you can get in front of people in countries where it's not quite so accepted, the better.
yeah,
And that is one good thing. I mean, it is open, they
yeah.
are broad-minded from that perspective, but that's political.
It is political.
Whichever way you look at it, that is a political issue.
And how do you, I mean, if you're a smaller business, say, because none of us are Eurovision sized businesses or companies, or we're not holding events that are that big, how do you then, as a smaller business or a smaller company, how do you not infiltrate that into, but how do you use that as part of your marketing?
So
It's
I
something
don't
that you
think
focus
you
on.
can. I think what you have to focus on is, what is your mission? What are your core values? What do you believe in as a team? And stick to those, and enter debate and enter conversation if you want to and if you can, but have very few rules around it. You know, I was in corporate for 15 to 20 years, and we were not allowed to talk politics at work. We were not allowed to talk religion. We weren't allowed to talk this, that, and the other. And I think if you take that stance as a business, then you have to stick by it and you have to do it. I mean, you know, we work with many organizations in very different spheres, and they all have very different attitudes on it. Some of them won't touch anything at all controversial, which you wouldn't think was controversial at all. So I think it's a spectrum, and you have to do whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, no, I agree. It depends on who you are as a business, what you're sort of intending to do, and your ability to be comfortable in discussing your beliefs, or your business's beliefs, or the beliefs of the teams that you work with, because it's going to be so different, and there's always going to be people that disagree with you, no matter what
Absolutely.
what your view is. So to bring it back to Eurovision for just a second, I'm expecting that there has been some listening been done to any of the songs. Do we have any favourites from the team, from the Avidmode team? Should we start with Robin?
As soon as you said that, my mind went completely blank.
No.
Well,
which ones were we discussing the other day, Jen?
Australia. She's not going to be there.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're still partaking, but they're just not flying over because of the old pandemic.
I have to say, I quite like the Swedish entry. I am. I'm always quite keen on most of the Scandinavian ones, and I don't know why, because they range from massive pop to metal and rock most of the time. So there's a massive spectrum. I do like the Swedish one, although I don't think it's as good as last year's, I have to say. And I like the Australian one.
Okay.
I remembered
I'm
Finland.
going to say Finland.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, I thought that might be the case. We've got the two ladies that really enjoy rock music, so well, three of us really, but you know, I think Finland definitely is onto a winner there. Iceland is my top, my second top, and then Ukraine is my if one of those gets to the top.
We're all veering to that side of the world, aren't we?
I know.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really interested in France's one this year and in Malta's one, but neither of those have really grabbed me. So I'm looking forward to see what the stage shows are like, because we've just been watching the rehearsals, and the ones that you can see on the screen now are all the videoed, like the produced versions. So hopefully there'll be
take on the Australian one then.
The Australian one from the song perspective?
Yes, from the song perspective.
I've been up and down on it. I keep listening to it on my playlist and then going, I like that part, but I don't like that part.
That's why it came second in mine from the Scandinavian ones, because it didn't quite hit the point everywhere. No.
I was sort of expecting there to be a bit more of a it's not very sing-songy until it gets to the chorus, which I really like the chorus part.
Yeah, me too.
And she really belts out, but then as soon as she sort of goes to it's not my favorite. I think I'm trying to think so far of the political moments of 2021. And actually, all things considering the crazy 2 years that we've had, there hasn't been a huge amount going on around it that is. I can't think of anything that's.
No, I mean, there's been not for Eurovision, that's for sure. I mean, in general, there's still been some things that organizations do or don't want to get behind, and some of them, to be honest, the mind absolutely boggles. I mean, still in America, you've got Black Lives Matter, which I think is something that you should be behind. There's no reason not to be. Peaceful demonstration obviously is always in the forefront of my mind, but Black Lives Matter, absolutely. Why would you not get behind that? Any kind of diversity, and making workplaces diverse, whether it be neurological, whether it be other disabilities, whether it be racial, whether it be religious. I think that's something that is to be gotten behind, and I don't think any organisation could be slated for doing that. So it does surprise me when I come across organisations that don't want to mark certain events that are in the public eye. Another one that's come up recently has been obviously Basecamp. They're an amazing software company that their founders are really, really outspoken on Twitter, always have been, and they've always been really open about talking about issues. They're very progressive in terms of the solutions that they provide for both people who use their products, but also for their staff members. They've always been very progressive, and then all of a sudden they've now gone to the corporate side of no politics discussed within the organisation, which led to a huge outpouring of their staff.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting from a cultural perspective, right? That's where you have to think, what do we stand for? What do we want to be known for? And they've obviously decided that at this point it's causing too much strife. And I think probably because they're an American organization, maybe they were having issues with polarization, because politics are really polarized at the moment, aren't they? There are no shades of grey. You're either for something or you're against something.
Yeah.
And if you've got that in the workplace and people feel like they're in different camps and they're other, and there's no discourse and then resolution and agreement to move on together, then you have got a massive cultural problem in your organization. But that comes back to the core values and hiring for core values and that. So those are the two big things that I think are still.
Well, I assume they didn't go in with the intention of having everything, like people not being able to discuss things in the workplace. I presume that it sort of led to that point because they started off fairly small, right?
They did.
So
still only 52 members of staff, I think, in total. They've never been a massive organization.
Yeah.
But I think it just started to overtake everything in office chats. It's a hard one.
I mean, it's I think it's sort of important stuff to discuss about, and it's important that we look at how those discussions happen in the work, because it's my favorite song.
I'm
sorry
smiling.
to break this off, but if he doesn't win, I'm going to be so upset. So yeah, it is a tricky one, because in some cases I think leading your business down the path of not being able to discuss certain things within the workplace means that you're basically cutting off a lot of discourse between people, and therefore you're not really able to grow if you don't discuss things.
No. You're stifling creativity, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because from discourse comes change, comes all sorts of creative ideas that may not appear if you're not talking about that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true. So I guess this is a broader question, but do you think that we've ended up in a state currently where the landscapes are constantly changing, or do you think that social media has just put a little bit of a spotlight on those changes that have come about?
I think it depends which circle you're in. I think you can, especially in places like Twitter, which is my absolute favorite social network, I have to say. You can get in a bubble where you're just hearing everything the same from all of the people that you know and like, because they're in your sphere. So I think you have to be really careful. I think not the wrong things could be spotlighted, but I think you can definitely have a bias in your feed, and you're not exposing yourself to other people's points of view. And I have to, I do unfollow people.
Same.
Which is probably not the best thing to do. I think news sources and stuff, I follow a really broad range of things. People who deliberately provide misinformation, I do not follow, or I unfollow them when they appear in my feed. But the problem is, then you are, as I say, causing that bubble,
even smaller bubble. Because having that ability to reach that person's content may have helped you reach someone else's who has a more balanced view, or a correct view in terms of not spreading the misinformation and talking to the point. I feel like at the moment we're dealing with a lot of, as someone that works a lot in social media, we're dealing with a lot of changes in the way that there seems to be a new event every single time I log in. There's something's happened, whether it's political, whether it's religious, whether it's, I don't know, just sort of whatever it is. There's a crisis.
Drama of some kind.
There's
in the UK there is constantly trending Boris Johnson's done or said something, or the cabinet has done and said something.
And
it has done or said something, or
and it's been like that for at least 3 years. I mean, I remember sort of Trump coming into power and there being all kinds of trouble around that, and it's just, I feel like
Polarization, that's
this,
when it started, right? I think.
yeah.
Oh, no, that's not when it started, but I think that's when it came to the forefront of
Yeah.
social media, was that massive polarization of people for marketing purposes.
Yeah, it is for marketing.
Political advancement, which I don't think we've all been exposed to so much in the past, because social media wasn't there, right? It took longer. You read one newspaper and that was your political view, or you listened to one radio station and that was your political view. Now we're bombarded with it.
Well, it spreads a lot faster as well, so which is great. It is actually amazing in one way and is not so great in other ways. For example, we had the Earth Day last month, and the fact that that is now gaining a lot of traction, and that companies are now being bombarded with this. You need to take a look at this. You need to look at yourself and see how you're working and making sure you're sustainable. That the social media push behind that has really helped that to become more mainstream, because it was a thought however many years ago, but the fact that social media is pushing that is great. Without that, I don't know whether we'd be in the same situation. We'd probably still not be quite as educated about it, and just not know. We'd probably be ignorant to the fact that it's even an issue for the most part, unless you work in certain sectors, I suspect. So actually, on one side, I think it's great. This guy has an amazing voice. I wish I had the sound on now, but yeah, he's got a really great voice. But yeah, it's an interesting world we're living in at the moment.
It is.
So would you say, I have this thing of, I'm not sure that avoiding controversy and conversation about things is a good thing, because I don't know, how do I word this? I guess, do you think that it's better to be avoidant, or is it better to be staunch, or should you as a business be more grey about things?
Does it matter what your web designer's political views are? Does it matter what your marketers' political views are? Does it bleed through into their work that they're going to do for you? No, not necessarily. However, from a marketing person's perspective, from a web designer's perspective, and from a small business owner's perspective, I think that it's one of those things that helps you to navigate who you want as clients. You know, understanding whether the client fits you and whether you fit them is super important. And I'm not saying that you have to be totally outspoken about your politics, but you can give clues by, you know, the causes you get behind, the charities that you follow, the things that you want to do in the community events that you support. Those are all political things that build your character. And part of who you are as a person and as a business. So I don't think you should shy away from that. I don't think you need to be hopping on and having arguments with people on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn about political subjects. Why would, you know, well, maybe I'm not an argumentative person anyway.
I was gonna say, like, for me, that's the problem, is that I don't want to be in a confrontation with anyone. I have a belief, and I would be happy to talk about my belief, but then to argue my point with someone over the internet gives me
well, I've always been told not
anxiety.
To trolls. I got called out on Twitter at one point because do you remember I retweeted a tweet from what's he called, James O'Brien on LBC. I was listening to his show one day and I retweeted something that he said, and then a Nigel Farage supporter literally came and attacked me on my profile. You know, he called me a champagne socialist. He called me all sorts of things, and then very patronizingly said, "Don't worry, dear, Nigel Farage will take care of you." And I just thought, wow, hello. I literally just retweeted a sentence that interested me. I don't agree with everything James O'Brien says. He's a personality, right? I I don't not agree with stuff he says,
Yeah.
but you can lead yourself to being attacked. I also got attacked on YouTube a couple of months ago for absolutely nothing political, just for making comment to a creator saying, you know, thanks for providing great content to the community, it's brilliant. And then I got absolutely jumped on. So you can get mired in controversy whether you're talking about something political or not.
Yeah, I think you have to be really aware that that's just going to be the case. If you're doing something on social media, if you're commenting on YouTube or you're posting things on Facebook or wherever, someone's going to have an opinion about it somewhere and they're going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to hear it. But, you know, it's the way of the world, and it's not as if that content that you posted is locked behind anything. It's literally there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
So,
I think you just have to have a cool head, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared to either choose not to respond if you are really being trolled, or have a thought about what you're going to say and make sure that whatever you respond does follow your values, but is also not aggressive and not, you know, not stoking the fires of polarization even further, unless that's what your business is about.
Yes, which it might be. You know, you never know.
Well, you never know.
There's definitely people like who are personalities, like someone like James O'Brien actually thrives in having people just constantly calling in and
or Piers Morgan
having their opinion, or Piers Morgan
on the other side of the spectrum. Piers Morgan.
Katie Hopkins, anyone. There's plenty of reasons why you would. We don't tend to work with a huge amount of people that have that sort of
no, we tend to work with people who want to shy away from any discussion of politics. And I think what we've done a lot with people in the last couple of years is work with them around their values, what those core values are, how to express them without being massively controversial, but just letting people know what their ethos is. And then also by helping them to build their ESG policies, that they have a policy around what they want to talk about, you know, where they stand, how they give back, all of that kind of stuff, and what their corporate governance is. And I think that's a good way to start, you know. Environment, the social stance and your governance are really important as an organisation, however big or small you might be. And of course, Robin's mired in politics because she not only works for Avidmode, but she's also a student at a university. And we know how political students like to be. So,
well, it was actually an interesting lesson that I did quite early on in my year this year, was ethics and morality behind web design. And not just web design, but design in general. What would you do and what wouldn't you do depending on circumstance? So would you, you know, support a certain cause or do certain things that could be connected or construed in certain ways? Like one interesting one which we all know about is cereal boxes. Somebody designs those cereal boxes to be deceptive in their size or to encourage children to eat them even though it's not good for them, or make them want it more. And you've got to choose whether ethically and moral and politically you stand behind it. It's also a political thing as well, like whether you stand behind certain subjects and whether you design for them, and where you stand in that line and where that line in the sand is drawn.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been clear as a business, haven't we? And we discuss things all of the time that, you know, we don't agree with dark patterns in website design. We don't believe in, you know, scamming people into doing things through a website experience. We've never done black hat SEO. We haven't really touched grey. Some white hat becomes grey over time. But, you know, we've always had very clear stances. We don't work generally with political entities. We don't work with porn sites. We don't work with gambling sites. There are certain things that we don't touch, because not because that I have anything against porn. at
Yeah.
all. I don't have a problem with people gambling, but it's not something that I particularly want to promote as a business. So it's something that we don't do. You know, Daniel and I agree on that. You guys and I agree on that. It's a team effort. We, you know, we don't work with products or services that we don't believe in.
Yeah.
So I think that, and that's another political statement in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to say the word again, ladies. The authenticity is coming back.
Oh, it is.
I think we need to get a bell, an authenticity bell that someone rings every time you say the word authenticity. That's it. I'm going to get one
buzzer
next week.
A buzzer.
Just something.
Taser.
No, I'd prefer if it was more positive reinforcement, like chocolate or stickers or something. You can send me like dog, cat pictures or something. I'm quite happy to take that. But yeah, I think it does infiltrating those things into your marketing, not in a like unethical way, but putting those into your marketing does really help to show who you are as a business and give that idea without being overt about it particularly. And I like that because I like to go on to like Sprout Social and see that they've liked something about charity water, or go on to, I don't know, Innocent Drinks or something, or one of the local ice cream makers and see that they're talking about a local, I think there was a farming thing in Cheshire that they were talking about. It was the Cheshire Dairy Company or something. I love to see those interactions, and I think having an opinion can sometimes lead to your customers or clients having a better perception of you through those. It gives you depth in a way that
depth, and it makes people resonate, right? Because they might not actually, I think we quite often spot those and see the interactions because of the way that we think as marketers. But it's just those little sublime signals that you're giving out that helps people build an entire picture of your organization.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to ask another Eurovision question, ladies. I have a question for you. I want to know, when you're looking and watching Eurovision, which we will be doing on Saturday, we have a party. It's in the calendar, so I expect you there sharp on time.
I haven't got snacks yet.
No, I've not got snacks either, so we need to work out what those snacks are going to be. I want to know, when you're voting for Eurovision, if you vote, how do you decide on what you're voting? Do you vote on songs you like? Do you vote on countries that you like? Do you vote on stages that you like? Is it based on the whole performance? What is it that gets you to vote for the country in particular? I'm
quite particular, as in my music in general.
Yeah.
In that I generally don't. This not going to sound wrong. I don't care about the artist generally behind the music. I care only about the music. I listen to every genre imaginable, and I don't know the names of half of the people I listen to, like their bands, their solo career names, whatever, because I care about the music pretty much exclusively. So when I vote, I am exclusively voting on my favorites of the music that I'm listening to. The staging can and things into it if I think it's a really amazing performance that has helped the music in some way. Like Australia.
I knew you were going to say that.
Last year. Oh my goodness.
2019.
You see, I didn't like that, did I?
No, I mean, it's such an amazing performance in terms of it was a bit out there and you weren't expecting it.
It was. No, it wasn't awful. So I'm going to share this because it needs to be seen if you didn't watch it. So she was basically on a long stick, waving around.
Dreadful.
on a
I was scared. I thought she was going to fall off. It was awful.
Well, it wasn't just her either, was it? It was her two backing dancers also moving with her. I did think they were going to clonk heads at one point. It was quite funny.
I didn't like the multicolored skirt either, I have to say.
You don't? The ombre you don't like?
Well, no, it's not that I don't like the ombre. I don't know. You just didn't
like it.
I didn't like the song either, so I don't think that helped.
Yeah. I quite like the song, and I think that given what she was singing about, the movements kind of fitted for me. So wouldn't say that I would have voted for this as my top for sure, but I would have voted higher for this because of the performance as well as the song working in combination. But nothing else would really come into it. But that's just how I am about music in general.
Yeah.
I suppose I'm slightly different. It's the song and it's the performance, but it's not the performance as in the staging and the lighting and those. It's the actual, whether I connect with the person that is actually doing the performing.
I think I'm very similar. It's the same for me. If the music gets me and then the person draws me in, so it's actually very varied, and that's what I like about Eurovision, is that there's so many different genres and people trying different things, even though, I mean, a lot of people think that it's mostly just cheese, which it is. It's very cheesy, but it's pop, right? It is, but this woman, when she did hers, she was doing opera. She was doing opera, and it was just having something a bit different. I think if there's something different happening, I like that, because it just sort of activates my brain a bit, which is where my votes usually go.
It's quite funny because I voted for what was the talent competition that had those operatic, the two women in it?
The Voice.
Oh my gosh, they were amazing, and I voted for them. They were incredible, and I loved that. I just didn't connect with this one at all.
What Kitty is saying is that she could not connect herself because she couldn't see herself in a pogo stick waving forwards like a flag. She wants to be drawn into the experience, that she just doesn't see the.
Well, you see, and I do get motion sickness, so that probably didn't help me at all.
I think we were a few mojitos deep as well by that point. We've been having sips of this and that, so I don't think that helped either.
But I certainly don't vote along political lines by country.
No, I don't either. Although I do usually send in a call for sort of Spain if the song's good. Like,
Are you in solidarity with Auntie Lisa? Or
I don't know. I just have this
causing that
thing.
one?
I don't know. It's something about Spain every year just gets me. Portugal sometimes as well, where I'm like, oh, I think it's because I really like the sound of Spanish. So if someone's singing in Spanish, it's an automatic like for me. So it's probably not the fact that it's Spain, it's the fact that they're singing Spanish.
Because when you were young, when you were little, we used to listen to Christina Aguilera singing in Spanish, Ricky Martin singing in Spanish, and what's his name? The younger Iglesias.
Enrique.
Yeah, we used to listen to all of those singing in Spanish. So that's probably where that comes from.
I think it's a vibe. There's a love song that they did in 2019 that I still have on my playlist. It's on my Spotify top playlist every year, or for the last 2 years.
So politics doesn't come into our choice of
I wouldn't
songs?
say so. No, not so much. I wonder how much it does for other people. I don't.
They say a lot, but I'm not sure that that's the case. Maybe it's not for the general public.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you see that with the country voting, but maybe not with the public votes so much.
Yeah. Well, the jury vote they do based on the rehearsal performances.
Yes.
And I often don't really understand the jury, but I sort of think that they do it in the same way that the award shows do, where they're trying to make a point with it. With whoever they're choosing, which I guess is political in that way. They're trying to push forward something with that. I assume that's what they do. But the country one, when I'm thinking about who I talk to about Eurovision, I don't ever think of anyone saying, "Oh, I'm going to vote for Ireland or Spain." I mean,
regardless of what the
performance
or song is like. No,
it's
I don't either.
Depends on the song. So that is the end of the Eurovision
extravaganza.
Chat, the extravaganza. You have to say it right. The extravaganza. Do you watch Drag Race?
I had a rant today.
You didn't? No, you didn't. You didn't get to have a call to action rant.
I didn't have a call to action rant.
Rough.
No, I think my only rant potentially is that you have to stand behind what you believe in to a certain extent.
Which is a call to action.
Which is probably a call to action. Be authentic.
Gosh, here we go.
Full circle. Ta-da!
I think what we need to do for the next one is make sure that we don't say the words call to action or authentic at all, and see how far we get. Actually, we could make it a drinking game. Could be. Next one's just going to be about calls to action and avoiding the word.
We film these at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? So
Don't say that.
Starting early.
You could have got away with that.
I mean, I'm not being funny, Jem, but the light behind you kind of dictates that it's
Listen,
earlier in the day.
We're in the summer. It could be 8 o'clock. You don't know. You do now, unfortunately. Yes. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful Eurovision. It's on at Saturday. If you are interested in watching it, and I think there's rehearsals on today. So if you're not rehearsals, it'll be semi-finals, second semi-finals, Tuesday, Thursday, and then the final on Saturday. So
brilliant.
Clock in, because if you don't, you're
come on, Iceland and Finland.
Yes.
And Sweden. Not so much Sweden.
And Ukraine. Yeah.
Oh, this will be funny. We can review who actually.
Well, we're doing scorecards. We'll put it up on
social.
We'll
put our scorecards up.
We're gonna see who we think is gonna win.
Yeah.
In general, who we think people will vote for, as well as our own decision of who we personally each think is our favourite.
It will be interesting because every single year we all sit there and watch it virtually usually, and we all have such different opinions on the different songs that are coming up. So it would be really interesting to write it down, because I feel like we've never done that before. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'd love to hear what other people think, though, about bringing politics into their businesses, and what they think about the Eurovision in terms of politics, and whether it should be more political, less political. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, it would be. I like that. Let's do that. So put your messages in the comments on Facebook or wherever, and let us know whether you're watching and what your thoughts are on politics and Eurovision and all of those good things. And we will see you next week.
Brilliant.
Goodbye.